And welcome back to the Zolteus Gaming Channel. I'm your host, Zolteus. Back with another episode of Empire Sin Henchmen Review. We're going to look at Tier 5. And weirdly enough, Tier 4, the only tier that had competition within the henchman professions. But when we got to Tier 5, we still had one that had no competition amongst each other. And that's where we're going to start with the Tier 5 henchmen, and that is the con artists, Cristiano. Alright, so Cristiano. So, he's got pretty good marksman here. He's got good marksman, and it's a base. He doesn't get any bonus to it, but that's still a good base. Decent melee here, 75. Not his base, but at a minimum, he has he's averaging out those stats, so you can utilize him in multiple ways. He has good hit points, 100. So some of the highest we've seen in con artists, so that's good. He has a decent leadership skill. And he has a really high movement. He has a decent initiative. It's okay. It's 42. It's not bad. But still kind of on the low end of the people that we really want to go first, right? He has hair trigger. So 100% chance to activate, so that is nice. So you set him up with a good pistol, and his hair trigger will do some damage. So that's good. Here's the other thing he also has, especially he comes with this unique, and the reason why I'm pointing this out is he comes with this unique. It's a shotgun, and he starts with shoot first, which means immediately start a combat. If you've seen any of my previous videos, they start combat, they will immediately shoot someone, and with a unique shotgun like that, he's going to do some damage. So that's actually really good. His only true negative is defensive bonus. He has no defensive bonus. Depending on how you utilize him, cruel can be a negative. Weirdly enough, though, he gets a -10 to leadership. He still has a pretty decent leadership bonus, so or leadership stat. So keep cruel in mind when you are going to set up a con artist for your party, because quite a few of them have it. However, some of them don't, and you have to take that into account because it is going to drop your leadership, and it's going to drop the amount of loyalty given to crew members. So if you make them an advisor, so just be aware of this. It's not a huge negative, but you just need to be aware of it. So that's going to do it for con artists. Next, we are going to talk about the enforcers. All right, so first enforcer, Dottie Bacon. Now, I must say, that is an amazing name. I'm just saying. I like Dottie, but I also like, her last name is Bacon, and Bacon is amazing. But either way. All right. So Dottie has insane hit points. I think the previous tier was 144. This tier it's 175. That is off the charts. And then you have that 94 melee, which is amazing. She has a pretty high marksman skill, to be honest. Now, weirdly enough, her handgun has burst fire, so it has a -10 to marksman. But it's a unique weapon. With some kind of luck, she's not utilizing it that often. But either way, still pretty high marksman. She also has a high leadership skill. 88 is up there. And she has a decent move, 6. You'd still like a higher move, but especially out of an enforcer, but still decent movement. True negatives for Dottie: no defensive bonus, and that initiative is just on the low end. I really wish it was a little bit higher. No traits that kind of work in her favor or against her. The other thing to take into account is down here in effects. She has a lot of her skills already chosen, and she's got meat hooks, so literally all her skills have been chosen. So you don't really get to specialize her. However, I mean, look at those stats, look at that hit points. I don't think you need to. I think she would be of use almost immediately. But last but not least, in the enforcers, you've got Elsie. All right, so Elsie. That staggeringly high hit point margin here. Insane leadership skill. Holy moly, 106. I think that's the highest we've seen in leadership. Let me know if I'm wrong, but that's a really high leadership. High marksman. I mean, really high marksman. So you give her, a up close weapon like a shotgun, she'll knock that out of the park. Decent melee. It's not Dottie's melee at 94, but it's still pretty close. So that's nice. She has pretty good initiative, so 48. It's still higher than Dottie's, so that's nice. She has that decent or good movement at 6, so they tie there. She has immovable, which is you want a skill like that in an enforcer. And she has calm. She has a 25% chance to bleed out instead of die. That is nice. Her only true negative is that defensive bonus. Now, weirdly enough, she has a plus 10% to add to 0, but 10% of 0 is 0, so it's still 0. So negative there. Like Dottie, she also has all of those picked out for her skills, but from her traits, she gets brothel talent. So something to keep in mind. I'll always take a look at this for all of your people. I'm not going to go over brothel talents because it'd be the same as going over the blue traits, and they're very situational, so I'm not going to talk about those. So those are your 2 enforcers. By far, Elsie ranked number 1. That low initiative for Dottie just did not help, but that insanely high leadership skill and that really high marksman really helped her. So, good. Now, if you would prefer to have an enforcer that has a unique, go Dottie. I mean, they're not that far off from each other. The only true reason why Elsie was above Dottie was because of that initiative score. It's something that you have to overcome. But true natural stats, Elsie beats Dottie. All right, let's look at demolitionists. All right, so we got Marco. All right, Marco has a high hit point at that 100, so kind of like the previous demolitionist. I believe 100. Let's see, was it 100? I want to say it was either 100 or 90, and I can't remember. I think it was 100, but either way, they also have 100 hit points. He has a high marksman. That's pretty decent marksmanship there. He has high melee, which once again makes him universal in the demolitionist trade as far as what to do after you throw the bomb. He also has a high leadership skill, 84, so that's really good. His movement is insane. 9, that's high. That's really high, so he can get in and out, and that's probably good. He also has thick skin, so he can resist that crit, and he gets a lower chance to get injured. His negatives, 36 is on the lower end. It's not low, but it's on the lower end. He has no defense, and unfortunately, he has afraid, which means he'll flee if someone dies. 2 things that I wanted to point out to take into account. He has cruel, so you have to be, just like we talked about on con artists, you have to be aware of that. He also has trust no one, so he gets these bonuses, but because he's not around friendly people literally right now, they're already added in. So this 9 turns into an 8 when you group him with anyone else close. So this is already applied, so I didn't really go over it, but keep that in mind. Next, we have Madeline.
Look who's here.
All right, so Madeline also has 100 hit points. She has pretty high marksman, 88. It's not as high as Marco, but still it's pretty close. Decent melee, 70. Decent movement at 6. Her leadership skill, just like who was it? It was I think this was in Elsie. Just like Elsie, 106. That is insane leadership. Also, insane initiative. Have we had anything higher yet? 79 is off the charts. She has good defense, once again, but she gets that bonus from In Love, so it adds on to each other, so that's good. She has hair trigger at 100%. That's awesome. Tolerant, we're still on the fence as to whether or not that's a good or a bad thing. And she has happy, so she gets that plus to morale bonus for nearby party members. And just take a look at her. No real true negatives here, so it makes her the obvious choice for number 1 and Marco number 2, because those are the two demolitionists you have to choose from. 100% Madeline. Madeline beats out Marco. Really wasn't a difficult choice there. All right. Next, we're going to talk about the doctor tier. So you may have noticed in the previous tier, there were no doctors. No doctors at all. They make up for it in tier 5 with 3 doctors. And if you followed any of my early Empire of Sin videos, you know how to get Diana here really early in the game. You don't even need 525 notoriety. So something to keep in mind. But we start with Diana. All right, so Diana, she has high hit point, 110. That's awesome. High initiative, 55. That's pretty good, especially for doctors. You need them to have those higher initiatives. Good marksman at 85. No bonuses there, unfortunately, but still good. And then good melee. So once again, she can be on the outskirts shooting her little dart gun here, or she can be in the thick of it healing and then going melee. So, that's good. Decent leadership. Decent leadership here. High movement, high-ish movement at 6, so that's good. She has a defensive bonus. That's nice. No true traits to go over as far as good. No true stat problems here. Intimidation, but she's a doctor. We're not really worried about that. The one true negative she has is that greedy. She has that plus 1% salary. Definitely something to take into account. But what I will say is if you're in the tier 5 henchman, you're at 525 notoriety, and you still haven't gotten her yet through some of the quest lines that you can utilize to get her for free. You don't even have to pay her up front. You get her for free. If you haven't done that and you're looking at actually hiring her at 525 notoriety, plus 1% salary, so 9% instead of 8% take is 1,200. That's not going to matter that much to you late game. I mean, let's be honest. So it's still a negative, and I still had to go over it, but really it's not a negative. Just saying. All right. Next, we're going to talk about Vicky.
Hello.
All right, Vicky. So high hit points, just like Diana, 110. High marksman, 94. Good melee, 75. So she can dual hat just like Diana can. Decent leadership. Decent leadership. She has good movement, and she has good defense here. Her one true negative, unfortunately, that initiative's on the lower end. You want your doctors to have the higher initiative so you can get them out there to heal. So something to keep in mind. No true traits that kind of work in her favor unless you want to talk about Brawny, because if you do end up using her melee, she will do more damage with it, but normally you don't see that in a doctor. So I didn't necessarily mark it as a good thing. Can be decent depending on how you build, but yeah. All right, last doctor in this tier, second to last notoriety requirement. Here is Natalie. So Natalie, she has high hit points, higher than Diana and Vicky by 10 hit points. So any extra hit points is good. High marksman, 99. So that's actually really good. Good leadership, 81. It's better than the other two. And she has a decent melee here, 70. So she can also, throw down with the majority of them. Good move at 6. She has calm, so that 25% chance to bleed out instead of die, so that's nice. And she also has thick skin, which means she won't get injured as much, and she can resist criticals, so that is nice. Here are some negatives for Natalie. She has no defensive bonus. She has the lowest of all 3 of initiatives. However, she's only 1 off from Vicky, so they're kind of in the same boat with that. And unfortunately, she has afraid, so has a chance to flee from combat if someone on the crew dies. So As far as the doctors go, I rate Diana number 1 just because with greedy being the only true negative here, it really shouldn't be an issue late game. And even if you get her early game, you can make concessions to deal with greedy. She has pretty decent high hit points. She has a high initiative. You know, she's overall rounded with marksman, melee, leadership. She's got decent move, and she has a defensive bonus. So Diana goes number 1. Now, between Natalie and Vicky, unfortunately, I chose Natalie over Vicky specifically because she had the calm and the thick skin traits. Now, the reason I didn't rate her under Vicky, even though she has Afraid, is, let's be honest, if she's any good at what at her profession, at doctor, hopefully crew ain't gonna die. She's supposed to keep them up. So it's definitely something I took into account when rating, which is why I rated Natalie above Vicky. But you know, definitely I made the negative of Afraid a lot lower of impactful, just because if she's doing her job, hopefully you won't see that happen anyway. But so it goes Diana, Natalie, and Vicky. So now for the tier 5, and I say this very earnestly, the creme de la creme of the hired guns. So first we have Harry here. So Harry with decent hit points at 90, higher than all of the other hired guns so far. That is a pretty good initiative here. But that marksman, insane, 119. That is high. High leadership skill, 88. That's good. Good melee. I mean, so if he does have to get in the thick of it, he has a high enough melee to, you know, contend, right? He's got a decent move, especially for hired guns, 6. That's pretty high. He's got a defensive bonus. That's nice. And he has happy, so he gets that plus 5% morale bonus for nearby party members. So, you know, nice there. No true negatives for Harry, oddly enough. He's very, very well-rounded here, and he has no true negative traits. So that's Harry. All right. Next, we have One Sky. All right, so One Sky. High hit points, so 90, just like Harry. High leadership, higher than Harry, so 94. Pretty decent there. They're one off on initiative. His is lower, but it's still decent, 49. That's a decent initiative. He's got a good marksman. It's not, you know, fantabulous, but once again, you take off that burst weapon, he goes up to 100. He goes up to 108. So pretty decent there. So I took that into account. He also has a good melee, so he can throw down as well. Good movement of 6. He has the immovable trait. Not necessarily a big need or ask for a hired gun, but still nice to have. You know, he resists that knockback. And he has Brave. He gets a plus 20 initiative when outnumbered, so that initiative can skyrocket very quickly. The only true negative that One Sky has is he has no defensive bonus. Even though he has a plus 2 percentage, he has no defensive bonus. So, something to keep in mind there. All right. Next, you have the Cleaner. So, you know what? Before we even take a look, all right, his name is the Cleaner. So I expect good things from the Cleaner. And when I open them, I sure as heck get them. Holy moly. So let's start. Same hit points, right? High marksman, 94. That's pretty decent. High melee, 88. So he right now is looking the best so far with melee. But that initiative, holy moly, 109? That is insane. He also has decent leadership. He has a really high movement for a hired gun, 7. He has Careful, which means chance to resist that crit. He's got Hair Trigger. It's only 90% chance, but that's still pretty much almost every time. And he's got Aggressive, which means he's going to gain that morale when involved in combat. You also have to be careful, and I'm going to point this out now. He's got Cruel, so, keep that in mind when looking at him. His only true negative is no defensive bonus, but good lord, that initiative. And then, the absolute last of the henchmen, and the last of the hired henchmen, R. So, you know, hey, name's a name, right? All right, so R. High marksman. All of them have 90 hit points, so I'm going to stop talking about that. High marksman, 107. And that's even with nervous reflexes, so it would be 112. So that's pretty good. 99 leadership. That's high leadership for a hired gun, so that's really good. 84 initiative. So not only is he already blowing every other, you know, hired gun and all of the other classes for that matter, initiative out of the water, but it's, you know, higher. It's higher than almost all of the hired guns, with the exception of the cleaner, right? That's still an insane initiative. He also has good melee, you know, it's not a 88, but 77, still higher than the first two hired guns, so he can throw down. He has high move at 7, so same as the cleaner. He also has careful, same as the cleaner. The difference here is his hair trigger is 100%, but he has calm. To that 25% chance is going to be good, and he also has something that the cleaner doesn't have, which is thick skinned, so another bonus to resist crit and a minus 20% injury chance. So that's insane right there. And like the cleaner, he also has no defense. So how do you choose between the cleaner and R here? Because let's be honest, they are clearly the top two of the hired guns. You can't choose between these two, and sadly enough, they hate each other. So you can't have both, and of course they did this on purpose. You can't have both, because if you did, you would just be a powerhouse of a team, right? So I ranked them both number one. I couldn't decide between the two. That 22 points of initiative, or sorry, not 22, 25 points of initiative more than R is insane. However, R's traits, especially thick-skinned and the combination of calm and careful to give them, to give R that insane a chance to resist crit, they cancel each other out 100%. I couldn't choose between the two, so they are both ranked number one. Harry, I ranked number 3 because R and cleaner are 1 and 1, so it still takes number 1 and number 2 slots out. So that's why I ranked Harry number 3 here. His marksman and his overall stats just put him over one Sky, just because of that marksman. And one Sky, of course, number 4. So that's tier 5. Insane characters in the cleaner and R. So I was particularly happy doing this review just because of those insane numbers. But that's going to do it for the tier 5 review. Like and subscribe for more content. And as always, I will see you in the next video.